Yeah guys, so today I'll finally be reviewing Grog Cutters. The reason why I say finally is because around Christmas time I got a Grog pack from Graffiti UK, and it included a marker such as this size being the 08, a 15mm, a 30mm and a refill. But I was doing what I was doing now and I was going to do a review of it, but the paint was an off batch. It was either an old recipe or it was spunk from being, I don't know, in direct sunlight or being in Graffiti's warehouse too long, exposed to certain heat that it shouldn't be, and it was too thick. So I didn't think it was quite fair to review such a popular, highly rated marker like that, considering it wasn't a good test. But yeah, these are Grogs. Grog has been established for about 10 years now. It's an Italian brand. They do pump markers such as these. They do inks, which is their BPI range, which stands for Buff Proof Ink, and their SKI range, which stands for Street Killer Ink. The Street Killer Ink includes a additive powder to make it stain harder, but is only available in black, while the BPI is in the range of, I think it's about 6 colours. BPI and SKI is for strictly mops, although I guess you could get an empty one of these and put it in. There's also FMP, which is for the mops. They come in just as many colours as these. I'll also be doing a review on the FMP mops later on. And the mops come in the sizes 05, 10, 20 and 25, while the cutters come in 08s, 15s and 30. The numbers obviously standard for millimetres of the tip. All the cutters are pump markers. They're equipped with a quick flow felt tip, and the paint that goes in them is extra flow paint. Now I've not tried putting extra flow paint in a mop, but it should work. I think it's the extra flow paint is the in between the ink and the FMP, which is full metal paint. It's got a glossy finish, this extra flow paint, and yeah, glossy finish, highly permanent, refill with extra flow paint, although that isn't restricting you to using any of the inks. So here I have Ferrari red and laser green, sort of like a lime green, and that's just sort of like a bog standard red. Quite a nice sort of shape and size compared to the rest of the sort of 8mm chisel tips on the market. It's got like a nice little Grog branded sticker there on the lid. If I open it up, it's actually got a bit of foam in there that goes around, that surrounds the tip, so any excess ink or paint, sorry, that you pump from here will be absorbed by there, so your sort of chamber won't overflow immediately. Yeah, I've got some on my finger. But these are alcohol based paints, come in a variety of colours. Also, just before I start using these, they also do a rough stuff paint, which is the refill for the Grog metal heads, which are, it's pretty much just a big steel tip marker. Instead of the ball being tiny like they are on a auto correction pen, they're like 4 times the size, maybe more. They're sort of similar size to a ball bearing actually. And although they haven't announced it from stalking their Instagram and stuff, they're releasing a bullet tip marker. I think they're called the pointers. They are acrylic, well it says they're water based, so I presume they're acrylic based. But yeah, let's get started with these. I'll be using them on varying surfaces like I always do, so yeah. So my first test is going to be on ordinary printer paper. I've left one side of the paper just plain, and then I've primed the other side of the paper with acrylic just to see how it differs. I haven't primed these pens yet, so I'll do that now. I mean that's just from like 2 pumps and it's already 3/4 of the way down the nib. I don't really know of any markers that the nib fills so quickly, to be fair. Normally I'm there for quite a while, just press it down, but these seem to flow really quickly throughout the nib. Now from a first initial tests, the lines are just nice, consistent, nice boldness of colour, even on paper when it's being absorbed by it. Yeah, they're just pretty sound markers so far. Obviously, if you're going to go fast, there is going to be streaks like here. So, here's a horizontal line, vertical line, diagonal line, just to get a different idea of the line profiles. Now these markers are both in 8mm, so I'll move on to the acrylic prime side. Now since I have put acrylic on, it has warped the paper since it is paint, but won't affect me too much. Now compared to the normal paper, it's a bit different actually. It doesn't seem to be as bold and consistent. It seems to be sort of blotchy. There's a slight texture to it. It's sort of similar to streaks. It's really quite weird. I haven't seen anything like it before, and I use markers like a lot, so. But yeah, it's a really nice red shade. I do recommend shaking these markers up a lot before you use them though, because when I first got my first ones, I just shook them up for like 5 seconds, and that might possibly be why the flow wasn't so good, because I pumped the paint into the nib, and then since there was more pigment it sort of clogged up the nib. That might be a possible reason, but I'm just having a guess here. So that's the red's done on paper. I'll now do the green on paper. But yeah, I've just sorted myself out with some more printer paper, similar to before. I've primed it one side with acrylic, and I'll now test the laser green colour. And once again, I'll just shake this up and prime it because I haven't already primed it. But this time I will give you a close-up on the nib to show you how quickly it really does flow into the nib. Similar to before, the chamber filled up quite quickly, and then therefore the nib did as well. Like I said before though, I have used markers and it's taken like a good few minutes for the nibs to fill, but this one only took about a minute, if that. So yeah, I think with my previous markers that I ordered, the opacity of the lines was nowhere near as bold as this. They were really streaky and really faint. But I think I might not have shook the pens up enough and just shook it like it was acrylic, because I think these were the first alcohol-based markers I got, so I just presumed they'd be the same. But yeah, they're just nice, bold, crisp, clean lines. Obviously, since it has a chisel tip, you can obviously get the different calligraphy strokes with it. But yeah, just nice markers so far on paper, because I've seen a lot of typographers actually use them for calligraphy purposes, and they would use these on cartridge paper. So now I just flip over to the acrylic prime side. So yeah, once again, since I've primed the paper with acrylic paint, the paper's warped since it's just printer paper. But I'll just try the markers on this. Unlike the red one, there isn't that weird texture when we had it on the prime side, but it's not as bold as it is on paper. That's probably because of the paper absorbing it, but because you can still see sort of through the black, but I presume, and it seems a lot lighter, a lot sort of paler than it does on the paper, on the unprimed paper. But I just presume that's because it's on black. But it still flows nice. I mean, I'm not getting any streaks at all. I mean, obviously if you go faster you're going to get some, but I mean if you just keep it steady then you're not really going to get any streaks. So yeah, so far on paper these markers seem to have held up quite well. Definitely much better than when I got my first batch of markers. It's a shame that they didn't work like these did, but that might just be due to down to my own fault. Definitely 100% recommend to shake them really well though, and when I mean really well I mean for like a good minute, like literally a minute. So I'll now move on to cardboard. But yeah, similar to the paper, I've primed one side of the cardboard with acrylic, and I shall be starting off with the red like I did in the first video on the unprimed side. Similar to the paper, it just works. It does absorb into the cardboard quite a bit because you know, it's cardboard, it's porous, it will do, but similar to the paper. When you apply it down, it's a lot more brighter than once it's set, because obviously once it's set it then sinks into the cardboard. But yeah, no problems at all really, just similar results, just nice results to be fair. I'll now move on to the prime side. Since because of how cardboard is formed and is built up of multiple layers, once I've applied the acrylic paint onto the cardboard it hasn't warped unlike the paper, and this is why lots of people use cardboard to practice for canvases and studio work, like using acrylic paints and similar things. So I'll now be carry on testing the red on the black prime cardboard. Similar to before with the black, I think it's because since acrylic is obviously plastic based, so that might have something to do with it. But yeah, similar to before with the black on paper, it works and it works fine, but there's just something affecting it, causing it to not be as bright as it is when it's not on a black surface. Now this might just be because it's on paper and cardboard, or it might be because it's onto paint and not onto a black surface, just as, like, you know, actually coloured black plastic or actually coloured black cardboard. I'll now flip over to the other side and test the green. So yeah, we'll now be testing the laser green on the unprimed cardboard. Similar to the red really, this test is a combination of how the red reacts on cardboard and then how the previous tests on paper as well. As you can see, it's nice and bright, but it could be bolder. I think if I go slower it might be bolder. But yeah, considering I'm going pretty fast, it's not streaking too bad. Similar to the red though, when you apply it it's really bold, and then obviously since it sets into the cardboard it absorbs and some of the colour fades. But I'll now test it on the primed cardboard. Yeah, just similar to how this green was on primed paper. It still works, and it works quite fine, but because of the black behind it, it gives a somewhat different shade. With the cardboard test done, I'll then move on to thermal stickers. I've decided to choose thermal stickers for a surface test is because, well, you know, it's a sticker, you're going to use your markers, graffiti markers on stickers. This particular type of sticker is a thermal sticker. This is what we get free in the UK, and they're pretty popular, but unlike the label 228s in America, they're not paper based. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm like 90% sure that they are plastic based because of the surface and how different markers and stuff react on it. But they're fairly decent stickers, so that's why I've decided to do a surface test on them. So similar to the previous two tests, I'll be starting with the red. Now this is ridiculously nice to write on. Unlike the cardboard, it doesn't, since it's plastic based, it doesn't absorb into it at all. That makes the red and the colour so much bolder. It's so nice and smooth to write on. There's no problems with streaking, well, apart from if you obviously go fast like that. Yeah, just good markers really. Definitely on plastic anyway. I have noticed in some of the lines though there are these little white speckles. I'll show you some close-ups of those in a second, but I don't understand what that is. I haven't came across something like that before, but yeah, they work well so far on plastic. So I'll be doing another thermal sticker now, but I'll prime it with acrylic. Similar to the paper, since I've applied the acrylic it's warped, and I'm pretty sure that's something to do with just because of how it's one singular layer instead of multiple layers. Yeah, I'll just crack on with using the red on this. Yeah, it's just similar, reacts similar to how it works on the previous tests when it's primed. This might just be because it's primed with black, or it might just be because it's primed with acrylic. That's something I don't really know. And also something I've noticed with these markers is because of how the alcohol, the paint is alcohol based, with other paints or other inks or anything remotely like that, if sometimes when you go over, say if I went over this and it was still somewhat wet, or if I went over some inks, the tip like collects it, so you're going to get a mix of your colour and then the colour that's already down. But this can be rectified by just drawing on like a scrap piece of paper just to get the foreign colour out, and so then the rest of the paint in the marker will sort of flush it out. So I'm pressing down harder, and this seems actually to somewhat rectify that problem with these, but it's still not as bright as on the other test. I mean, like, here's a comparison. So that's the red done. I'll now move on to the green. So yeah, this is now laser green on the thermal sticker surface test. So this is me pressing lightly, that's me pressing hard, and apart from sort of the line width, you can't really tell opacity wise. It's somewhat similar to the red really, with it sort of, I want to say thinness. I think it's definitely something to do with it being a thermal sticker and it being plastic based. But bearing in mind, this is, I haven't pumped this marker since I first pumped it to prime it, so See, I don't want to pump it too much, just in case I flood the chamber, because that'll be a disaster. Yeah, that's pretty much it really. Just similar to the red really. I'll now move on to the primed thermal sticker. I don't really need to say anything about this because it's just reacted the same as how it has on the other blank surfaces, so apart from it's a lot sort of smoother because it's upon plastic. I'll now be moving on to the final test, which is proper plastic and not just thermal, not just a thermal sticker. So this is the final test. I'll start with the red like I have been. Unlike the thermal sticker though, you can quite clearly see that there isn't the like thinness, the sort of streak, the translucency. It is just so bold, and these markers are great, to be fair. Like, I have had a lot of trouble with them for about 6 months, but that must have been down to my fault not shaking it properly or something. They just work great on plastic. They flow so nicely. Hold on, I'll try and do a streak test. This bottom one. Yeah, they still do streak, but you're gonna get that. I mean, especially if you're going quite fast. But if you keep your hand steady, then you know you're gonna get lines like these, and they're just great lines. They're bold. They flow so nicely. There's no sort of problems really. I'll now do the green. Yeah, that line's hard and then that line's light, and once again, apart from the sort of line variation, you can't really tell. Similar to another test, it seems to be a lot lighter, like a lot paler than what it was on cardboard. This might be because of how it's see-through plastic, so it's not going to, you know, have a colour to shine behind it. If you sort of follow paint marker brands and or graffiti writers or even typographers on Instagram, these grog markers came out of nowhere the past, I think about the past year actually, possibly the past 2 years. Lots of different people are using them, including Frack1, who's a typographer who I follow, also Kanza, Syosa, I think the other guy from the Buy crew, I think his name's like Baddie Pose or something. I mean, I've been asking several people, including the people I've just mentioned, for like, you know, your markers look so good compared to mine. What am I doing wrong? Like, what do you do? Have you done anything different? And I was just thinking, I was slowly giving up with them really. But with doing this test, I've realised that just how good these markers are. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably rate these at about probably an 8 or a 9. Definitely at least a 7. As I've shown you before, there's so many different other product lines. There's the inks, there's the mop paint, there's the steel tip marker paint, which all come in varying different colours, and also there's replaceable nibs as well, and refills, as well as their new marker coming out, which is the pointer. But yeah, how I was saying before, when I got that set from Graffiti, that either must have just been a bunk batch of paint, or it must have just been because I didn't shake it well enough. So definitely shake it for at least a minute. I recommend getting these markers. I got these particular ones from Montana Nottingham, which is the only original Montana, being MTN being the Spanish Montana, shop in the United Kingdom. This has been HexxInkworks reviewing the Grog Cutters in Ferrari red and laser green with the 8mm size. Hope this review's been useful. Peace.